Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to join your meeting tonight. And yeah, Ron was saying, we have had a couple of very successful booths here. We did them last year. This year, we're really concentrating on club openings. So, but the two that we did last year were great. And so the the thing that I would stress is if you're going to be doing in your district a multi-club boost, you really have to be have a lot of preparation and organization in order to make it flow pretty smoothly. So what we did is, the reason we got started with a multi-club boost is because I had one club call me when I first became membership chair and said that they would like some help with a boost. So I said, sure, we'll be happy to help you with that. Well, then it grew to 4 clubs in their area wanted to do boosts together. And so that's how we started doing a multi-club boost here in Michigan. So it really it's like you could do these boosts for each club individually without having a whole bunch of clubs getting together to try to organize boost, but it works either way. You can get them all 4 together, or you can do individual ones, whatever your desire is. The trick though is to make sure that each of the clubs that you're boosting knows that it really is their responsibility to be heavily involved in the whole process. Because some clubs will act like, oh, you're going to come to do the work and get us some new club members. But no, that's not how it works. So how we started is we actually did all the organization through Zoom calls. And we started meetings about 8 weeks ahead of time from when we were going to be doing these boosts. I started out first inviting just the club presidents because I didn't want it to be overwhelming. But in the end, I was sorry that I did that. I think you should invite anybody from the clubs that want to participate in the boost. Make sure they're in from the very beginning. We asked that each club that was participating have a club coach assigned to them from our membership committee. And that club coach then worked closely with each individual club. And the first thing that we asked them to do right at the very beginning was to go ahead and use the ACE tools that are available to do a little bit of self-analysis of their club. Figure out, the ones that we use mostly are the membership satisfaction survey. Make sure that your club members all like what you're doing. It might, shine some light on what can we change in order to make it more inviting for new members. We use analyze the impact that you're having on your community and rediscovering your community. Those were the 3 that we kind of concentrated on. We only asked them to do one because it takes a bit of time, and really when you're doing a club boost in the community, you're going to be really rediscovering that community anyways as you're doing your club boost. So that could be one that you don't necessarily do right up front. So we gave them time to do that, and then about 6 weeks out, we started having weekly meetings. And what we did is, can I share the screen?
Okay, it's starting to come up.
We use a program called Padlet. And it really is just a time scheduling. I mean, it does a lot of things, but I use it just to do a timeline, a time schedule. And it's really pretty super fancy and easy to use. You can share it and give access to everybody that is going to be doing the boost. And they can get in there and look at everything that goes on. You can put in there any PDF, any PowerPoint. You can put schedules in there. You can put anything on there. And it works out really nice because then people stop calling you and saying, when's the meeting? Oh, when are we supposed to do this? What's the date for this? Because it's all on that time schedule. They can click right on there and see what's going on. Sometimes you might have to train the people to use it. It's not that hard. It's free of charge for the first 3 Padlet schedules that you put together. I like it so well that now that I'm doing club openings, I'm using it for the club openings. And so I just bought it so I could use I could do as many Padlets as I wanted. I wish I could share it with you, but because it's pretty fancy. So anyways, so let's see. You want to ask, you want to get your clubs to set a membership goal. And that goal should be, if your club that is boosting is under your 15 recommended club membership, your goal should be to reach that and exceed it. And each club just decides what they think their goal can be. Some set it very high, some set it realistically. But if they have a goal in mind, it really is more helpful than just saying, oh, we're just going to get some members. The other thing is to pick your boost date and never, ever change it. Because then, everybody just stops kind of working on it. So set your boost date out 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, however you want to, from when you're going to start getting everything organized, and then work backwards to develop your schedule. And so on the Padlet, you can put in your meeting agendas. The minutes of your meetings can be put on there. The assignments that have been given out can be put on there. People can report out themselves right onto the Padlet. So if they were supposed to do something, they can put on there, I completed that on this date. We wrote articles to newspapers in the area that were printed just before that we did our boost, and we put those out on that Padlet so people could pull those off and use them if they wanted to. So like I say, use that Padlet. It's super easy. There's other time scheduling programs that you can use too, but I just really like this one. Then you want to make sure that you have the clubs. Make sure that the clubs are doing most of the work. I mean, you're organizing it as the group, but the clubs themselves have to be totally invested in it. And so you got to have your president, your membership chairs, and then anybody else, identify them up front who's going to be working on the boost. And all of that can go on the Google Sheet, which is what we're going to use to organize the boost itself. So the Google Sheets, we use those for the contact, to make a contact list for the boost. And the reason we do that is because it's a live document, and you can share it with everybody that's involved in the boost, and they can add and to take things off, put things on. And everybody can see it live as it's happening. I do know that we have a lot of people, some of our members say, oh, I don't really like to do that. So they download it as an Excel file, and then they're working over here. Then nobody knows what they're doing. So, try to get your people to use the live Google Sheet. It really makes your life a lot easier. And so you want to prepare the contact list. I wish I could share this with you. What I do is I set up the Google Sheet. I've got 4 tabs on it. One is the recruitment tab, which is going to give you the name of the organization, the contact name, the address, phone, email, who's responsible for it, any notes, and any appointments that are set up. We have an appointment sheet that will be there for say you're going to do a boost for 3 days. So you have 3 days, you've got 3 teams, and you're filling in all your appointments from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and hopefully 3 an hour. And they're all listed there. And then you have your list. There's another one where you can put all the volunteers that'll be working on it. And then ultimately you have your new club roster. Any new club member would go on this, and then another sheet for follow-up. All of those are all on one Google Sheet for the club. You would have a Google Sheet for each of the clubs that are doing a boost. So if you're doing a 4-club boost, there'd be 4 Google Sheets. And that way each club does their own. The only problem with it is that that we found is because the clubs are regionally kind of close. We made sure at the end when we got our Google Sheets together that we had a meeting where we went through the list to make sure that we weren't having different clubs contacting the same individual or same company to join. And so the clubs worked it out. They said, well, we know we want to go there because, our president knows that guy. Or, somebody said, well, we want to do that because we contribute to their organization. And so they worked it out. It was never, ever an issue. No one got in any fights about it or anything like that. It was very cohesive, and we were able to get it done. So in order to fill out that list, basically we join the chambers in each of the areas where we're going to do a boost. You join the Chamber of Commerce, and the first thing you can do is download their chamber list. It gives you all of the organizations that are in that area's Chamber of Commerce, gives them the contact people, addresses, phone numbers, all of that kind of stuff. We also go to local business directories, DDAs, and anywhere that, I've even gone just to Google and Google the area. Say we're doing one in Rochester, Michigan. I'll go and I'll look in Rochester, Michigan, and I'll start Googling around and finding businesses and people that I want to contact. On our list, we always put on there first our school superintendents, our mayor, our the local economic development person, fire, police, all of your government people that you want to reach out to. It's great to get out to them. Once you get to them, you can usually get them to boost your boost by putting it out on their websites. The schools that we're working with right now are putting them on their websites so that they can go see, parents can see it, teachers can see it. The cities have been doing the same thing for us. You can also have the chamber put information out for you once you join that chamber. We go to the chamber meetings and we talk to the chamber members about what is Kiwanis and why do we think Kiwanis would be a good fit for them and their businesses. And that's another source of, getting some contacts there. So the one thing that I would stress is make sure that your members who are filling this list out know how to do it, because it does get a little confusing if they're not paying attention. Okay, then you got to make sure that you have all of your boost material. You can order it through KI Member Services. If it's a single club boost, your club president or somebody from your club can go into Member Services and get brochures and applications. Excuse me. But if you're doing a multiple club boost, you can contact KI and they'll send you out a boost box. And that will include the Kiwanis brochure that says, we accomplish a lot together. Excuse me, which is a nice brochure that explains what Kiwanis is all about. They have service leadership cards that kind of lay out what are all our service leadership programs. They have applications, contact cards, and even you can get some brochures on how to talk to prospective members, which you can give to club members then so that they can get a little more comfortable talking and recruiting a new club member. So the next step is to make sure that the clubs that are being boosted, make sure that they either have a recent updated club brochure or get one together, make one, and include the highlights of what they do in their community, how they reach out into their community, have contact information on it, date, time, and place of the meetings, interesting club photos, any of that. And if there's nobody in the club that can do that, KI has forms, they do have, templates that you can get from them that you can just use. So Vicki, I don't want to say they're not as interesting as if some club members put their own pictures and stuff in there, but they are usable, and all you have to do is put in, your contact information, the date and the time. those club brochures are going to be very important when you're going out and doing the recruiting, because that's what you're going to be leaving with people when you're out there doing the recruiting. Then you also want to make sure that each club prepares their invitation. And that invitation is going to be an invitation either to the club meeting where they want to invite all the new members that they're boosting and bringing on, or it might be something a little more formal like an open house, or maybe you want to make it so you would do this at a service project. Whatever it is, whatever the club wants to do, make sure they have a brochure or an invitation for that. And again, that is something that Kiwanis International will help you with. They put it together for every single one that we do. And they look professional, and you use those and hand those out when you're doing the booths. They also will do a flyer for you, which is just a bigger version of your invitation, which you can leave at different businesses and stuff for them to just leave out there so other people might be able to see them. You want to make sure that you have somebody in your club who can handle social media, because a big part of a successful boost is to do a Facebook boost. And that's where Kiwanis International comes in very well. They will actually boost your Facebook page for you. All you have to do is give them administrative rights. And then you also make sure that whoever is going to be doing your social media work has administrative rights too, to your Facebook page. And then 2 weeks before the boost actually happens, KI will start boosting it. And then you will start getting interest from people within your community. And you're going to want your Facebook person to immediately respond to them. Yes. People that are looking at social media want an immediate response. They just do. And so the best way to do it, we found, is to text them. That not email them, but text them. And then we just did a club opener, and we ended up with something like 40 people who contacted us through the social media, through the Facebook information. And we reached out to every single one of them, and several of them became members. So it's a good thing to do, but you have to stay right on top of it during the time that you're doing the boost. Let's see. Okay, so once you have your list together, and each of these things you're doing, like every week you're doing a Zoom call, and you're really talking about what do they need to do that next week, or, a couple of weeks out. But then you get to the point where 2 weeks before you start your boost, you're going to want your team of people at each club to start making appointment calls. You're going to need, I say 20 to 30 appointments for a 3-day boost. That only gives you 10 a day if you get them spread out that way. But in order to get like 10 or 15 members, you got to have twice that number of appointments set up. And so you want to set up as much as you can. And that's where we get a lot of help from Kiwanis International. When we do a boost, they'll call on people from around the country who will come right in and start making appointment calls for us, along with the club members. You got to have club members doing it too. And then our membership committee does a lot of that. So you make all of the appointments, and then anybody that feels like, oh, I don't know how to do that, you give them a little training. Kiwanis International also will provide training. I don't know, Vicki, if you've ever done that, but Emily does a wonderful job in our district. And so it makes people who have never made an appointment call or a recruiting call much more comfortable with doing it. When we try to tell people, when you're doing an appointment setting, don't be recruiting. You're not trying to recruit at that point in time. You're just trying to introduce them to Kiwanis and tell them we'd like to come out and talk with them. So there are some scripts that are available. We don't recommend that people read from the scripts because it doesn't sound natural. You just kind of ad lib it as you go through it. And so, yeah, so then you're trying to get them to set up appointments. You tell the people that you're setting appointments for that we only want 10 or 15 minutes of your time. Generally, they'll take about a half an hour unless they really are not interested. Then you have the folks that are making the appointments, enter them on the Google Sheet. And then once that's all done, you're about ready to do your boost. So the week of the boost, we always have a 3-day boost. And then the day before is where we all gather. So we get everybody into a central meeting place, and we make sure that each club has enough members there with the people that we're providing, and KI. We've had KI come and help us on these too. And then you go through and get prepared for the week ahead. And you're giving everybody their contact list. They've got their contact list. There's cards that you can use to fill out for each recruiting call that you're going to make. Those are given out to each of the clubs that are boosting with you. They fill those out. They figure out who's going where. And then we set up the teams for the next day. So we always have teams of 2. We want one of those members to be a member of the club that's being boosted. And we also try to get a member or somebody from the district or Kiwanis International who has experience in recruiting, so that the person that is, from the club who has never done it before is comfortable going out, and they can learn from the person who is a recruiter. And so you put those people together, and then we do a little training on how do you do recruiting. And then we go out and we do the recruiting. So let's see. So yeah, and I would say that I looked at this club boost checklist that Vicki sent out, and really, that's what I do. That's exactly what I do. And so if you use this club boost checklist, you'll have a successful boost. I would not recommend more than 4 or 5 clubs boosting together. It gets a little unwieldy if you're trying to do too many of them. You can do this by one. You can have just one club do a boost, or you can have, I would say 2, 3, 4, 5. If you go past that, maybe you're more organized than I am, but it was my job to keep everything organized. And so it gets a little harder with the more clubs that you have trying to do it. So I guess what I do is I open it up for questions. I think the one thing that we learned the most from all of this, from our first 2 boosts, was you've got to get the appointments set up. That's it. If you don't have the appointments, you're not going to be successful. So, yep. Go ahead, Vicki.
I do have a question, Sue. We recommend that just like with a new club opening, or when you're making a 2-for-2 call, you're using the 2-for-2 program, that when you do a boost, you have an event to draw them in, not like just a regular meeting, maybe a small service project or a dynamic speaker from one of your partners or groups that you work with. Have you found that to be successful?
Yeah, and we do suggest that. Like, some of the clubs you'll find really want to just have them come to their club meetings, but then we recommend that they have a dynamic speaker who can talk a little bit, about Kiwanis, because everybody can talk about Kiwanis, but not everybody's that good at kind of being a little entertaining when it goes.
Well, and especially if it's from a group or an organization that benefits from the club service project. So maybe you have someone from a sponsored Key Club or CKI. Excuse me.
I know, I'm doing the same thing.
if you work with the food bank, or with that, whomever you work with, ask that person, even if it's just 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we found that the most important thing is to make sure that you have that first meeting within a week, or
Yes.
you know, I say within a week. Sometimes they go a week or two, but you want that person that you've already recruited to be. Don't wait too long.
Right.
Get them in there for a meeting right away,
Right.
and get them engaged right away. You know, really,
Right.
there's the whole step after you have them recruited and they come to their first meeting. You know, I found we usually have you all know Sue Peterson. We usually have her do a orientation of Kiwanis. You know, we'll do a Zoom call and have her give everybody an overview of Kiwanis. And then we try to, you know, tell folks, make sure that you get them involved in some committees and some projects, and somebody mentor them. Make sure that they're not just sitting there not doing anything but listening.
Right.
Roland, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to add, excuse me for the cold. It's granddaughter is
I do.
that we've had really good success in Western Canada District. Even during COVID, that we ran a couple of names: open house, meet and greet, member presentation. Some of them in person, but many of them over Zoom. And what we found are a couple of things. The steps that you go through are very much the same. The only difference is I'm not coming to a restaurant or a meeting hall. You know, I have to feel comfortable with Zoom to have that interaction. You know, and we had some very successful ones during COVID and COVID lockdowns. Your comment is valid. The ones that were a success, we had external speakers talking about their experience, but typically it was around volunteering, impact on the communities. We've had mayors speak. We've had Order of Canada. It's like the President's Award, but the Order of Canada recipients. So we've had people that are kind of known in the community, and we've had some of the service project recipients come and speak as well, as part of why would I come to this meeting or this conversation. We also had, in terms of the agenda, a little bit of time, the Kiwanis speak, a little bit of reinforcement about what we do in the Kiwanis. Sorry, Vicki, I don't care if we're 103 or 108 years old. We got a bunch of old white guys. We do good stuff and we smoke cigars. I've heard that in one of your videos. But
I know the Northmount members. I can believe that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you certainly can. If you see the membership list, or the lack of hair or white hair, that also we've had a little bit of time for members to talk about the member experience. So typically it's like, I really enjoy participating with the Key Club because this is what I see. This is what brings the tears. So the member perspective, you know, what they can kind of expect if they participate. And we found that to be a very successful sales pitch. We haven't focused as much like new clubs on 3 days generating. We do generate a prospect list but not. There's not the pre-sale, there's not appointment setting in advance. And I can see how that would be very beneficial for the club boost. That I think many times it's getting out there. How do you want to help the community? Can we help be a part of it? And
I would say that we did a club, multi-club boost in the fall of this past year. And we were opening a club, so my committee could not help them. And so we went through it all step by step, how we do it. But then they all kind of went off on their own way. And most of them didn't do the work of getting the contact list and making the appointments. And they were not nearly as successful as when you follow this process. This process, I am convinced, really works. So, the one thing, there was one other thing that really was kind of a problem, and that is you got to make sure, because we are a dues paying organization, And when you're going to talk to members, they're going to want to know what are our dues. And you'd be surprised at how much people in the clubs don't know how to answer that question.
Please say a few things. So the district as a whole is offering support for setting up a club boost. If a specific club or specific LG wants to basically try to get on this road, on this journey, please contact me. And as I said, we have a support subsidy of $500 towards basically doing some local advertising, doing some logistics stuff, and potentially cover some of the expenses of a service project, a meet and greet, whatever it is that you've got as the event where you're going to try to basically formalize the member on the dotted line kind of thing. Okay. Now, the documentation that Sue has talked about, whether it is the checklist, whether it is the Google Doc and whatever kind of thing, I've got all of this stuff kind of thing. So if you are interested, start talking to me. And, if there are things that you are missing in your process documentation and whatever it is that you need, I will reach out with you to Vicky to obtain basically the material. One of the things that I would like to stress that I've heard times and times again from Vicky, pick a date for your club boost. From there, we can basically get KI help towards basically getting the Facebook advertising done. And believe me, the Facebook advertising works. Give you a specific example. Or our Strathmore current attempt at setting up a new club in a little population base of 15,000 people, their Facebook process created 38 leads. So you get an idea as to how powerful this thing is. So, that's, to me, that's one of the most important things. The process as you go along, and I'm making sure that you've got a coach to help you towards basically delivering on the various steps towards basically the checklist and getting there. We have people in the district that can help you towards that stuff kind of thing. So that's my little advertising, shall I say? And now I'm going to shut up and listen some more.
Well, if it takes more to convince you on the importance of Club Boost, Western Canada District has a fund to help defray the cost to the clubs who are running. So it's not only help to organize the boost and materials that Ron has talked about, but also money for incidentals, for other advertising. It could be rental of space. It could be those costs to actually run the boost. The other two incentives, Western Canada District has a new member growth incentive. So for the whole year, up to a maximum of 2 new members, there's $100 per member that would be given to the club for a new member. So not a dual member or things, a new member. So think about that as another form of support. It gets better. That the Kiwanis Foundation of Canada, our CRA, your IRA agency, has funds that they have set aside from October to end of March at this point, $100 for each new member. So you look at that, and there is no limit on that. So if you got 15 new members, there's a good chunk of change that's available to you. So it makes financial sense.
Mhm.
And I look at the clubs that have grown. It makes sense for the club. More members means more service. More service and more members means more friendships. The reality, it's longer lasting club legacy, longevity. So there's lots of great reasons why clubs should want to regenerate themselves. And typically what we've found, not only on new clubs, but on Club Boost, they're not old white guys like me. They might be young white guys, but there is a diversity that more closely resembles the community that we're serving. And you want to talk about getting relevant. So that's my spiel. Get new members, get some money. Hear the heart to go because you've done a great job. And that's my pitch. Over to you, Ron.
There's one more thing that we're gonna keep throwing stuff at you guys. There's one more thing that incentive that might be available to clubs that are below charter strength. If as part of the process this year, including the Club Boost, you move your club to be above charter strength, the Kiwanis Foundation will offer you more dollars. Roland, you're the specialist on that, and you forgot that one.
In that, the condition is not just new member, but you're moving up from under charter strength to charter strength or above. And I have to recognize Ian Taylor, who's the past president of the Kiwanis Canadian Foundation. He is a big supporter of what was done last year and a big supporter of what's done this year. And it's important to look at the overall club growth incentives. There's the incentives for new club openings. There's the incentive for under charter strength clubs. There's the new member growth incentive. And there's also incentive for opening new SLP clubs. So there's clubs that say, well, we don't have the funds, poppycock. That's my British term for the day, Vicky. That there's lots of people who are willing to help. There are lots of people who have done this before. There are resources that will help folks. So the only thing that's missing is you. It's the motivation to grow your club, make your club stronger.
Okay, James, there's a question.
Yes, thank you, Sue, for your wonderful presentation. I was very interested in the brief insight you showed of your Padlet. Is there a way that you're able to share that or export it to PDF so I can just see kind of a template of what you guys use within Padlet so I can set it up properly for the Airdrie Club?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
So, Sue, if you want to send it over to me, I will basically forward it to the group or every their membership coordinator or membership director at a club, at all of our clubs in Western District. Okay.
Okay. So I also see in the chat somebody asked if there was if I could share the presentation. So it's interesting because I have my presentation that I was kind of working from was a presentation that I gave at our district convention, and it was for individual club boosts, but they work exactly the same way. So I will be happy to, send that over also. And then I really do think this club boost checklist that Vicky sent to everybody it's a great timeline, and it will really get you through each of the steps.
Roland and Ron, I sent you the Club Boost checklist.
Yeah, it's been distributed already.
Okay, great. And it really, if you go through that step by step, we patterned it out. Emily and I worked on that together. Emily's the area director for Sue's district. So we were working on not only club opening, but club boosting, because there seems to be such an interest in that as well. So we put together that checklist to kind of follow the club opening checklist, and many of the things are the same. And again, remember that KI, we're here for you. We're happy to help. And Ken, you may have heard Governor Guy in Utah, Idaho,
And so I'll let you.
Should
on our governor calls talk about in that district, they're doing a 7-club boost right now. So he's working with 7 clubs. It is big. And you know, they're going through it. It's a process, right? First, if they don't have a Facebook page, we'll build them a page. If they do have a Facebook page, but it's languished, they need to put some new content on there. So we gave them a link at Kiwanis.org/brand. Click on the social media button. We have plenty of content there for you to add to your Facebook pages. There's posts, there's photos, there's graphics, whatever you need. And then if you want us to do the advertising for you by zip code, we do need about 6 weeks notice, because we're doing a lot of these. And then we do that in about a 50,000 population zone. We're going to try one in California with a little more, only because California is always so more and extra. So we're going to try that there and see what happens. But that gives us the ability, if we're not reaching or getting any response from a certain zip code, we can remove it and slot in another one and try that. But what Sue said, the most important thing with the zip code advertising by zip code is when you get a response, a request for more information, to respond right away, because that's how you're going to attract the people who are interested, want to participate and want to be involved. You can't wait a week. You've got to do it right away. So whoever you assign to work on your social media team has to be able to respond, at least to check it a couple times a day. And just as Sue said, text them, hey, would you like to get together? When's a good time? I'd love to talk to you about my Kiwanis experience. We all have our Kiwanis moment, that moment we knew that, you know, Kiwanis was right for us, or when it was that heartfelt moment when we helped a kid or a group or felt like we were making a difference. And that's the story you share when you go on your appointment or when you go talk to them. You don't say, would you like to join my Kiwanis Club? Let me tell you what we do in the community, and I can tell you how it affected me personally. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's all in the Boost document.
Yeah. The one thing that was kind of new for me, and it's terminology, because that we have used Facebook before in Western Canada. We have a district and clubs. There's not as many as there should be, and they don't post as often as they should be, but we are using Facebook. That the difference between boosting a post, which just basically gets more eyeballs on it, and you might see some like buttons or thumbs up and or comments, and Facebook advertising,
Right.
which actually comes up with a button that says, for more information,
Right.
click here.
Yeah.
And that's when Ron talked about the 35 or 38 responses we got.
Yes.
Were not the likes, there were not the eyeballs that saw it, even though, you know, you can target it to certain zip codes. We call them postal codes, but between age groups, gender, kids, no kids, you can do that targeting. That it's that response. It's the difference between a TV ad and something that says, take action, push this button, give me your name, give me your phone number, give me an address or whatever. I want more information. Yes. And that is really the contact information to build that contact list. So it's not only built through looking through the phone directories or, you know, mayor, chamber, you know, the list of people that should be there, but also people in the community who have actually taken an action. They said, I want to know more about you. And those typically, yeah, they've taken the first step. They're not the cold call, they're warm.
Hey, any more questions or comments? We're approaching actually, given the fact that we started late, we're just about an hour in, which is always our target, but I don't want to basically stop the discussion. Any comments? Any more thing people want to questions or whatever? Okay, looks like we've got consensus that we've heard pretty much enough, or to a certain extent. Ken, do you want to do a final word for us, please? You're on mute, Ken.
Thanks. I was just trying to be a good citizen, not add background noise. But yeah, I think Boost has tremendous potential. We, really need to take a look at some markets that have been sort of in the doldrums, and this is a way to generate excitement, get people thinking about the alignment of what their communities are looking for, and rethink of how we can shape the club experience so that our clubs are a place that people would want to come, and so they can make a difference in the community. It sounds like a terrific vehicle, and we will be pushing to have people take advantage. So thank you very much for the terrific presentations.
Thank you.
Okay,
So-
having said that,
I think maybe time for a commercial. There won't be, because typically Western Canada District every third Thursday has these educational sessions. For March, we're actually doing our virtual district conference. It's going to be March the 18th, which should be a Saturday. It'll probably start about 9 o'clock Mountain Time, which means you can go across the 3 time zones or that make up Western Canada to figure out the schedule. We've got 2 amazing streams of speakers to talk about planting the seed and tending the garden. So you like it? Good. Thank you, Joanne, who is our resident green thumb and gardener. So there will be more promotional stuff coming out. So mark that on your calendar. We will not be meeting in March on the 3rd Thursday. It will actually be on the Saturday for our virtual district conference. We'll come back in April on the 3rd Thursday for the next regular scheduled session.
all right, having said that, I just want to remind you, if you are interested into doing a club boost, or even better, if you have some ideas about basically a club opening, please give me a shout, send me an email. I'll work with you to try to make it happen. Thank you very much for participating today. I hope you learned some good stuff. Club Boost is an interesting process that should land some good progress. I know that in my own division, I want to take a situation where I've got I think it's 6 clubs that are below charter strength, and I want to reduce it to maybe 2 by the end of the end of the Kiwayan year. I hope everybody has a similar type objective. And having said that, I'm going to shut up and let you have a nice rest of your evening. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Bye
Good,
for now.
everyone.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you.
everyone.
My brain's full, Sue. Brain's full.
Have a good
I'll
night.
send out the information that I've got.
Okay. Bye.